welcome to another episode of Perfection Unfolding with me, your girl and host, Cara G. How do we feel about last week's episode? Was I talking 1,000 miles a minute? I was. Did I watch it back 3 times myself? I did. And you know what? I liked what I saw. I liked what I motherfreaking saw. And based off all the comments that I'm getting on all the shorts from the show, it's landing? Question mark. Listen, I watched back last week's episode and was like, oh my God, why am I talking so fast? And then I just thought to myself, no, I'm fired up because I went back and watched like the first couple minutes of some of the other episodes from season 2. And I'm like, oh my God, who freaking hurt me in those episodes? What was I going through? I mean, I know what I was going through. You kind of have an idea of what I was going through, but I left a lot of the stuff that was happening out of the public eye. But I could just see in those last couple episodes of season 2, like, whoa, I was going through it. And I think that's such a testament. When I watched last week's episode, I'm like, oh my God, I finally feel and look like myself again. And thank God for that. And that's how we're going to start the show. Thank God for that, okay? How are you doing? How are we doing? How was last week? How was your, for the astrology girlies, which you know I love you, because I am also one, how was your new moon in Gemini on Sunday? How was that? It was yesterday for me. I'm recording this on Monday. Because also week 2, I'm recording early. I'm feeling very proud. I'm feeling very excited. I'm feeling very loosey-goosey. Like last week is, what if it was never that serious, is so the energy that is living in the zeitgeist right now. I had a phone call with my friend today and she was talking about all these boys that she's about to be dating, going on dates with, and how she's just like, yeah, I'm just having fun. And I'm like, right, we need to all be just having a little bit of fun. Like things have been so serious. Things are serious, don't get me wrong. But I feel like things, when they're so bad for so long, you just gotta laugh. You gotta have a laugh. You gotta have a little bit of like, you gotta have a little bit of humor about it. I mean, because it is kind of hilarious. Like the grief that I experienced last year, and I talked about it a little bit last week, I am so glad that shit, it's not gonna be over for, you know, like in totality, probably ever. But I am so glad that I'm out of the weeds. I'm out of the thick of it. Like, God bless America, you know? I'm also laughing at, again, some of the comments on the shorts that I posted of last week's episode because, okay, life update. Where are the girls? Where are the women? Where are the gals? Where are my cheetah sisters? Okay, if you're watching, please let me know you're here. Okay, I need to know that I am not just talking to a sea of men. Men, you're more than welcome. This show is for everyone, but I'm just getting increasingly concerned that the algorithm is not pushing me to the women, and I want to be talking to the women. I mean, look at my earrings, okay? I'm wearing fruity palm earrings. I'm wearing my glittery purple eyeshadow. I'm wearing green. I'm wearing tie-dye pants, if you're watching YouTube. I want the girls. I want to commune with the girls, okay? With the women. Where are you? Okay, like I've been looking at my analytics. Again, men, you're more than welcome to come and kiki, but if you're only here because you think I'm hot, I swear to God, you better be watching these goddamn episodes and getting the juice and the wisdom, because if you're only here because I'm wearing pink lipstick and talking really fast and pointing my fingers, okay, you're gonna piss me off. Listen, I try really hard to look cute for the show if you're watching on YouTube, but I want, ladies, this is, I'm putting out the smoke signal, okay? Please find me. Please comment. Please like. Please let me know that you're here. Send me an email at perfectionunfoldingpod@gmail.com because I'm getting increasingly worried. With that said, though, you know, men, hey, listen, welcome. If you're new to the show, if you're a man, woman, he, she, they, non-binary, whoever, welcome. If you've been here, welcome back. This is Perfection Unfolding, a show where we are getting to the core of who we are by doing our best to remove all the shit programming that we've experienced throughout our lives. Amen. If you want a little bit more detailed of an explanation, you can go to the link to like the bio of this of the YouTube channel or even my podcast on Spotify or wherever to kind of get a more detailed look. You can also visit me at perfectionunfolding.com. I do have a whole ass website where I put in a lot of work. I made it myself. Shout out Squarespace, not sponsored. Where I have merch. I've got some Perfection Unfolding merch. there's all kinds of stuff happening over there. So check me out. With that said, before we get into the actual life updates, if you're new here, please, if you're liking what you're hearing, if you're liking this like spastastic kind of vibe, this is the show, okay? It's me sharing all the things that have helped me make myself better, make my life better, like be more happy, be more loving, be more grateful. If that's the things that you're interested in, those are the things I'm here to share. And if you like that, leave a 5-star rating of this podcast anywhere you listen to this episode. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Perfection Unfolding. I shortened the name to Perfection Unfolding just so it'd be a little bit more like quippy, you know? And if you've been here and you've been watching the show and you've been getting nuggets of wisdom, been getting nuggets of knowledge, do your girl a favor, okay? And rate the show 5 stars and leave a comment, leave a review, tell your friends to tell a friend, okay? It really helps the show like get noticed and get out there. You guys, last season I had 36 followers on YouTube. As of today, I have 107 subscribers. I said followers, I meant subscribers on the YouTubes. I turned 31 and now everything's the Facebook, the YouTube. That's a lot of subscribers, bro. Like that's just for me posting shorts and just kind of like speaking, doing whatever, posting shorts. I'm trying to be consistent, you know. I'm here. We're trying to keep it loosey goosey and let it flow so that it doesn't feel like such a chore, you know. And this last week and this week, I really just feel like the energy is like it's here, it's flowing. We're doing the thing. I dressed up. I'm wearing green. We're in my pink cave. Like life is good. Leave those reviews, okay? That being said, as I was like sitting down, I wasn't sitting down to think about the show, but every week when I am doing this podcast, I kind of try to take note of the things that I'm noticing. I try to notice things, right? I try to be more intentional about noticing things and what's coming to my mind and the things that I'm experiencing so that maybe there's, you know, a nugget of wisdom to share with you guys or a question to ask. And you know, part of my life update and my what's inspiring update is like journaling. Like I just had this realization today when I was writing in my journal that I've been doing it for like pretty consistently since 2018. Like I consciously consistently started journaling back in 2018. I went through all my journals and I found my earliest entry and it was like 2018, and the entry is so like poor Cara, I was 23 years old when I wrote that entry, and what has been inspiring me is just the idea of like having these like things, these entries of my consciousness to go back and look on and look through and just see how much I've changed. And just this idea of how much I've changed. I know I've changed over the last 8 years. Is it 8 years? Is that 2018? Oh my God, can I do math? 8 years, 2016, 25, 24, 23, 20. Yeah, 7, 8 years-ish. Okay, 23, I'm 31 now. Oh my God, can I even freaking math? What is happening? Please disregard all of that terrible math I just did in my head. Basic addition and subtraction, Jesus Christ. Yeah, like almost 8 years worth of like material of my life. And when I think about this, I think back to me being a kid and my mom, and I had a journal/diary when I was a kid. And I stopped writing because my brother's best friend, I won't say his name, but my brother's best friend at the time, who I had a massive crush on for reasons I will never understand as an adult now, looking back, they like stole my diary, read all my entries about how in love with him I was, and then I never wrote in a diary ever again. I was so mortified. They read every single thing, and then they like made fun of me for it. And I remember just being so pissed off that my privacy was totally disregarded and like used against me, okay? Like, what are you gonna do? Make fun of the girl who loved a little bit? Okay, it's messed up. Okay, I was 12. I had a lot of feelings, and I had a thing for curly, shaggy hair. Apparently, um, and I didn't journal after that. Like, I was 12, and I was like, nope, wrapping it up. No more vulnerability. No more vulnerability for me. No one will ever have the opportunity to ever throw my feelings back in my face or make fun of me for my feelings. I was like, fuck this, never again. No, thank you. I'm out. Okay. And that is a very 12-year-old thing to do, okay? But the thing that's, I was going to talk about some other life updates, which really there aren't that many since last week. You know, trying to sell my condo, real estate sucks. I hate it here. I'm still holding out faith, whatever. But what's been inspiring me is just this idea of having a library of my thoughts and feelings over the last 8 years at my fingertips. And I want to show you my collection, okay? So please hold. Look at this. Look at this collection. I have filled, almost all of these are full. I think there's only there's 3 of these journals that aren't full. Look at, I love that they're iridescent. Ooh. This is so many books of feelings and thoughts at my fingertips. And I swear to you, like when I swore off journaling when I was 12 years old, I was like, never again. And when I picked it back up, I remember thinking to myself at the time, like, I always wanted to be somebody who would have this. I always wanted to be somebody who journaled, who wrote in a diary, who kept record of their thoughts. And 8 years ago, that felt like a pipe dream. It felt like, oh my God, it's like, it was so, I remember thinking when I started doing it back in 2018, and I only have 2 entries from 2018, and then there's one from 2019, and then it's 2020. So I wasn't doing it consistently back then. But over the years, it turned and has molded from this thing that was so hard for me to do. I hated like the idea. I hated the act of actually doing it. But I knew it's something that I wanted to do because I remember my mom told me when I was a kid, the reason why I started in the first place, she's like, there's so many things that I just don't remember about my childhood. And I wish that I wrote them down. I wish that I had journals. And that stuck with me when I was a child. And I was like, well, I want that too, But then every time I would try to go and write, it was just like, ugh, it was like pulling teeth, Even in 2018, 2019, I'm 23, 24. And even if I did write in my journal, I only did it when I was so fucking sad, when I was so sad and so just lost. And the entry from 2018 is me being like, I'm so lonely, Because I was so lonely back then. And I was so, oh my God, I read it earlier and I was like, this is so pathetic, bro. Like, but it makes me laugh because I have so much grace and compassion for 23-year-old Cara. I'm like, she was just so lost. Literally, I'm going to read you the first sentence. Tonight, I feel alone for no apparent reason. Well, maybe there is a reason. Wait, scratch that. I'm alone because I'm craving love from any kind of suitor at all. I love myself and I am very rarely quote unquote alone or feeling lonely, but damn, why can't I catch a break in the romance department? I mean, even just looking back on how I wrote, it cracks me up because it's so different now and I love it because this leads me into today's topic, which is, the journal entry I made today, which I'm no longer, also while I'm on this topic, I am no longer calling my journal a journal. Screw a journal. This is my monthly diary, okay? I keep a diary of my thoughts and feelings. A journal is like a place where you write down your goals and what you want to accomplish. No, that's not what we do here. My diary is where I complain about my boyfriends and my friends, and it's where I show gratitude for how far I've come, and it's where I sift through my grief, and it's where I express all the things that I really don't need to be saying out loud to the people that I love because I know that it will pass and I know it just needs to be expressed, right? My diary is where my deepest, darkest secrets lie. My diary is where I commune with the divine. My diary is where I speak to God, Spirit, Mother, the Creator. Like, it's where I become in tune with my spirit guides, with my grandma, with everything. Like, my diary is everything. And even though it's not something that I do every single day anymore, I remember when I started doing it consistently, was probably in 2020. It's actually, I met this boy, and in meeting this boy, I actually read some of the entries from when I was like dating him, and I was like, whoa, oh my God. I look back at the way that Cara in 2020 was feeling, and I'm like, girl, what the hell? But at the time, Cara is such, and I love looking back and talking about like the past me's, because I feel like I have such a kinship and so much. I'm like the big sister of them, you know? I have seen and experienced everything that they have gone through. And I love looking back with the wisdom I have now because I went through those events. And my God, Cara was a lover. Cara loves hard. Cara's still a lover. Who are we kidding? But the way I would fall in love with every man I ever met, the way I would fall in love, I wouldn't say that that was love now, but at the time, the way I was shook to my core with infatuation for every man I dated, like do not count those as the loves of my life now. Like that, I probably have tallied like two real, like, boyfriend romantic relationships of like people that I deeply loved at one point. But these were just like infatuations, and looking back now after all of the work that I've done on myself as a person, I'm like, holy shit. If I did not have an anxious attachment, I don't know what definition y'all are reading, because I was the textbook. All these avoidant ass men who didn't actually really like me, I'm like falling in love with them. Like, Jesus Christ. I would be embarrassed if I wasn't so like endeared by it. Like, I find Cara so endearing. Like, she's just so hard on her sleeve, lover girl through and through. And I'm still that. Only now I've got boundaries, and now I have values, and now I've got standards, and now I have awareness of my patterns, you know? But anyway, that has been inspiring me. Just the keeping of a diary. Like, it is something that I've always wanted to be the type of person who did that. And I had this realization today that, like, oh my God, I am this person now. And I've got all kinds of diaries. I've got all kinds of journals. Like, I forgot that I kept a dream journal. Oh my God, this says, my cat is cuter than your boyfriend. Look at that. Iconic. Okay, with cat hair on the edges, because I used to have a long white-haired kitty cat back in the day. Oh, rest in peace, Sassy. Love you, girl. But I kept a dream journal for all of 2020. And I was reading through some of them, and I was just like, girl, what? Because dreams are, you think you're going to remember them, and you don't. I'm like reading them, and I'm like, what the hell was I going through? But so cool. And it's inspiring me to keep a dream journal again, because I have dreams pretty much every night. I have like a diary journal where I kept track of all my goals for a couple years. I have a journal and diary I started in 2024 called my villain diary. I basically did I wanted to do a 75 hard. It was like a 75 hard, but for creativity. And you basically would write in this diary or this journal as if I was my greatest villain, like my greatest enemy, like arch nemesis, basically. It was something that I saw on Instagram, and I thought it was really interesting. So I tried it. And in doing that exercise, I realized, oh my God, like my villain is just who I aspire to be. My villain is just like the most disciplined, consistent, bad bitch, put together, confident, courageous, like woman. And I'm like, oh, this is showing me all the things that I wish I was, and all the things that I've been working towards. And I'm like, oh, this is weird. So that was a really cool exercise. This one's like, I got this at the dollar store. It was like all metallic and gorgeous and wonderful. I'd also been keeping like right now I have a journal and diary that I only put creative ideas in, and it's been really inspiring. I literally, in this journal with my goals in it, I also have been doing I used to do sketches like little sketches in here with all my creative ideas as well. And I've written songs in here. And I can go back to 2020 when I first thought of the idea for my LLC that Perfection Unfolding lives under, which is Compassionate Creative Co. And I had all these ideas for merch Tripsy Creative and all these things. I didn't have Perfection Unfolding, but I literally have brought, this was back in, I wish there was a date on here, but this was back in 2020 when I 2019, 2020. I said Tripsy Creative. I have all these ideas for making a what's it called? An apparel company. Like, what? All these ideas. And they didn't come to fruition. My LLC didn't come to fruition until this past year, like 2025. So it's just crazy how I've used this as a manifestation tool. I've used it to manifest love. I've used it to in all these different ways that I can only now see looking backwards. But at the time, I was just writing my thoughts and feelings. And that's just so fucking cool to me. I'm time traveling through these diaries. I'm manifesting through these diaries. I'm reflecting, and I'm consolidating my wisdom, and I'm consolidating my thoughts and feelings, and it's just really freaking cool. And I have to say, all this to say before we get into the topic for today, this diary exercise that started in 2020 or 2018, ramped up in 2020, and then really took off in 2023 when I read The Artist's Way. This has been the number one tool I've used to change my life. Without question, without fail, without this exercise of writing down my thoughts, feelings, desires, deepest regrets, grief, I would still be in the same brain as Cara in 2020. I swear to you, I swear to you, I swear to you. Like, it is so incredibly powerful to get all the gunk that lives in your head onto a page. And it's also really interesting how I can see over time how I used to be really careful with my letters and my words, and my handwriting was a lot better and a lot clean and a lot neater. And over time, literally in my journal, in my entry that I wrote today, it's like chicken scratch. I can't even, it's like doctor's handwriting, writing a prescription. It's just like, because what used to be a really difficult thing to do was to get the thoughts from my head to the paper. It used to be like, I don't know what to write about. I would overthink it, and I would end, and my diary entries from 2020 are like, and then I did this today, and then I did this today, and then I did this today. And then if I read my diary entries today, it's like, and I am the most divinely guided spiritual person on the earth who is protected by the universe, and I'm so grateful for the relationships that have ended, and I'm so grateful for the people that I've met, and every single man I've loved and every single person I've met has led me to the person that I am today. I'm like, who? And I'm writing like this, like I can't get them out fast enough, right? I feel so much more connected to my creativity. I feel like the tether between me and spirit, me and creator, is like, I got them on speed dial, right? Whereas before it was like, there was so much crap I had to sift through, and so much like gunk I had to scrape off my brain and my psyche to like even get a couple words on a page. But ever since I read The Artist's Way, which shout out The Artist's Way, if you haven't read that book and you're a creative or you want to be creative, you need to get on it. Buy it on thrift books for, $10 probably, or half price books, whatever you have to do. Listen to it on audiobook, read that book. You don't even have to do all of the exercises, but if you pick up one thing that's going to change your life, it is the morning pages in a journal, diary, whatever. Like, that has changed my life. It has taken me from that lonely girl in 2018 to I've been through the biggest breakups in my entire life, and I'm okay. And I am hopeful, and I am grateful, and I am living my best mother freaking life, okay? It might not seem like it on paper, but again, like I said last week, I'm going through a massive transition. I am doing things that me 8 years ago would have been like, oh my God, my life is over. I'm moving in with my parents, and I can't pay my student loans. Girl, me now, yes you can. And you love your parents. And this means nothing. This has there's no ego around the things that I'm going through now. And I just would not have that kind of clarity and that kind of direction and that kind of guidance my internal guidance for myself if I did not have this practice. And these journals, by the way, if you liked this little shimmery edge, I've talked about these many, many times on the pod. I talked about the Artist Way many, many times on the pod. But if you are new here, know that the Artist Way changed my life. Know that also another book that changed my life, if you're interested, for my spiritual girlies, Conversations with God changed my life. Changed my life and has changed every person I've recommended it to. It's changed their lives too. Maybe not in the same way, but it's opened their mind to something different, right? But this journal, these journals that I buy are from a company called Magic of I, not sponsored. It's incredible. I love all their products. I've bought their astrological calendars and their astrological their journals, everything. Magic of I love the detailing. I love, for my astrology girlies, they've got the moon phases, they've got the different elements, they've got everything. I'm obsessed. I feel like every time I write in this journal, which you can see over the years, I started off very humble beginnings. I was just using the journals that were gifted to me. My cat is cuter than your boyfriend. And then this one says, make it happen, make it happen. And then once I found this company, I was like, oh, I'm never going back. So long as they're in business, I am their number one fan. So Magic of I, love them. Highly recommend. All that being said, when I was writing in my diary today, this question of today's topic, who would you be if you were free, came up when I was writing. Who would you be if you were free? And I think this whole journal thing, this whole being inspired by my diaries and my writing, it goes hand in hand with the levels of freedom that I already experienced today. But this topic of who would you be when you're free kept coming into my mind. And then when I was writing in my diary today, I went into depth and I was asking myself all these questions. So I want to read to you what I had written, because I just thought, like, oh my God, I feel like this is perfect. Like, so we're going to get into it. Okay. So I'm gonna read you my little entry, okay? Morning pages, June 15th. I think it was like 11:45 or something. This is what I wrote. I said, this morning I asked myself in my diary, not my journal, what is the medicine I'm needing in this season of life? And this is what I wrote. This is what came to me. And again, this whole diary thing, this whole journaling experience, a lot of times when I start my entry, this is what has been true for me, okay? Things could be different for you, but when I start my entries, it always starts off like, good morning, beautiful. First of all, what an amazing way to start a day. Like, if you see or talk to nobody else, like, oh my God, like, hi, good morning, beautiful. It's so good to be here. Thanks for asking. I am beautiful. I am feeling gorgina. It's just what a beautiful way to greet yourself. Good morning, beautiful. And then I get into, like, kind of what I'm feeling, what I'm doing. And then I always journal or write for 3 pages in my journal. 3 full pages, no matter what. That's what the Artist Way says works, and it works for me. And always, without fail, by the time I get to page 3, now I'm communing with God. Now I'm communing with Source. Now I'm communing and writing with the divine, and I'm getting the medicine that I need for that day. Okay. So that's why today specifically, I was like, what is the medicine that I need? Like, I asked, when you ask, you shall receive 9 times out of 10. And what came through was, I keep thinking of Costa Rica, of living a slower life, a life of intention, a life full of beauty, a barefoot life filled with fresh food, culture and fruit and real dirt and waves and nature and freedom. I daydream of it constantly, and I see myself there, cooking, learning about herbs, eating, being relaxed, laughing, being free. I dream of freedom medicine, of peace medicine. I dream of a place where I can walk around and wander and be safe, where the people around me share the same values as me and the same vision for the earth and its people. I dream of simplicity and peaceful interactions. I dream of what I could do and who I would be if and when I am free. Which, plot twist, this is where the question comes in. Who would I be if I were free? What would you do? What would you be if you were free? How do I become her? You'll see that I switch back and forth between first and second person. Again, communing with the divine, communing with my guides, my angels, I'm my connection, my tether, right? How do I become her? What steps am I taking to bring her to life? What attitude is required to align with her? Who would you become if you were free? Free from shame, free from fear, free from guilt, free from rejection, free from hardship, free from expectation, free from your own judgment and the judgment of others. Who would you be if you were free? Where would you live? Who would you love? What are you willing to do to align with that version of you? What are you willing to let go of? What stories would need to die and be rewritten? What actions are required? This is not a question asking who you need to become to be successful. No. That would require pressure and expectation of a specific outcome. What I'm asking is, who are you underneath all the pressure? When you peel back the layers, who is the freest version of you? Outside of societal expectations and pressures, what is it that your spirit longs to be? And when you embody and own those desires, who do you become? What and who are you when you are free to be and do exactly what your soul desires? Again, do you hear the gospel? Do you hear the gospel in the writing? I hear the gospel and I'm like, where did this come from? It came from my question, what is the medicine that I need? And I've never asked that in my diary entries before, ever. I've never written that in my morning pages. I've never asked that question in my journal, never. And today I asked it, and this is what came through. Who would you be if you were free? And it just got me thinking and asking all those questions, like, when we live our everyday lives, we are doing it through the lens of who we expect ourselves to be, who others expect us to be, what our coworkers expect of us, what our neighbors expect of us. Like, there's so much expectation, even outside of other people, that we put on ourselves. You know, I hear so much. I hear so often, especially from men, like when they hit their 30s, they're like, I just thought things would be different. I thought I would be farther along. I thought, there's some people who are like, I thought I'd be married and pregnant by now. I thought I'd be in love. I thought I'd have this better job. I thought this and I thought that. And it's like, oops, excuse me, I burped. And it's like, it's so interesting that we have these visions for ourselves, but are these visions that came from us? And before you have an awakening to self, before you have true self-awareness and you dive into why you are the way you are and you ask yourself all these questions, you would say, yes, of course this came from me. But then sometimes, I'm not saying all times, but sometimes if you do peel back a couple of the layers of expectations from your parents or your friends or the judgments that you have for yourself or the expectations that your teachers put on you when you were a kid, like sometimes when you peel those back, what's true for you might be like, actually, I am doing this because society told me that I needed to make more money, because women told me I needed to make more money, and that made me good. And that if I'm actually doing this because all of the culture tells me that if I can't do something well, that I'm worthless, that if I can't produce something good, that I'm worthless. And to all that I have to say, like, I'm over it. I am over the capitalism of it all. I am over the outside opinions dictating my life and who I am and what I'm going to do. Who are you who would you be if you were free? Who am I? If I were free, who would I be? What would I do? Where would I go? And that's what this entry was saying. It's just like, I dream of being in Costa Rica, bro. If none of the pressures existed today, like without fear, without negative consequence, without having to worry about money, my ass would be in Costa Rica right now, learning Spanish, sitting on a beach, eating a mango, hanging out with the monkeys. Period. That's what I would do. I would walk around, I'd probably take some pictures of the beauty. I would hell, I would get a job working on one of those zip line places where they take you down the zip line and go in the waterfall. If money was not a thing that I needed to pay my debts or to pay my mortgage or to do it, like that's where I would be. That's where I would feel at peace at this moment now. I would be living a slow life, growing my own food, hanging out with locals, probably riding a bike everywhere, walking around barefoot. Like that is what my soul desires, bro. And you know what? I only got here because since I've been writing in my diaries, I have given myself the gift of becoming free from a lot of the mental stuff, right? Right now I don't have the financial freedom that I desire to be able to go live that life in Costa Rica just yet. But I'm working towards it, okay? Because my vision has become clear through writing and journaling. And if you're not watching YouTube, I am holding my journal and shaking it around for emphasis, right? If it hadn't been for this exercise, I would not be clear on the fact that that is what I desire, right? And I've been thinking about this for months, even years at this point, but like today it became so clear, like, oh my God, if I were free, this is where I would be. This is who I would be. This is what I would do. And over the years, what I was getting at too earlier is like over the years, I have given myself the gift of freedom in other ways though. So right now I'm in the process of gifting myself financial freedom so that I can go and live in Costa Rica and go do those things and take the Spanish classes. Like that is in my 1-year plan. My 1-year plan consists of what I put in my journal today, what I wrote about today. That is my 1-year plan. And I'm not specifically manifesting anything crazy. I just know that that is in my plan. Whether it happens in a year or not, I don't know. I've figured out over the course of my life that I am not a specific manifester. I am a broad manifester. I just kind of think of the vibe that I want to feel and I manifest from there. If I try to be specific about dates and times, then my manifestations are like, no. And I'm like, okay, heard, chef, heard. I'm just going to reel it in. I'm going to focus on the vibe. So that's the vibe I want to think of. Right now, I'm just dreaming of freedom. I'm dreaming of like physical freedom, financial freedom, and who I'd have to become to attain those things. And what does that look like for me? Who I have to become is somebody who is judicious with their finances. Who I have to become is somebody who is willing to let go of her literal material possessions, trust them in the hands of a stranger so that it will gift me, so we can exchange money for a house, right? Like I have to let go of the old stories that like if you move in with your parents at 30 you're a loser. That's not true, bro. Like I have no ego about this, right? I had to let go, but there was a version of me that did have an ego about it. But the version of me that I need, shaking my journal again, to get the freedom medicine that I desire, is I have to let go of that and say, okay, this is who I'm going to become now. I'm going to become the girl who moves in with their parents at 30, 31. I'm going to become the girl who gets judicious with her finances. I'm going to become the girl who doesn't need her own home. I'm going to become the girl who's a little bit more nomadic. I'm going to become the girl who does the research and books the flight and learns Spanish. I'm going to become the girl who's on almost a 40-day streak on Duolingo. I was not this girl a year ago, but this is the girl I'm becoming now because this is the girl I have to be to become who I would be if I were free, okay? Now, over the years, in order to become the girl who could keep an open heart after heartbreak, girl, I had to give myself grace. I had to become the girl who gave other people grace. I had to become the girl who was grateful. I had to become the girl who didn't hold grudges so hard, okay? I can still hold a grudge. Don't get me wrong. But it's a grudge with grace now. I used to be a grudge with like resentment and like gross stuff, but now I hold a grudge with grace. I really do. I hold the grudge with grace. But I had to become the girl who learned about inner child healing. And then when I wanted to be the girl who wasn't so insecure anymore, I had to be the girl who took care of her inner child. I had to become the girl who did the things she said she was going to do. I had to become the girl who lived in integrity and did what she said and followed through. In order to become the girl who wasn't so insecure in relationship, I had to become the girl who asked more questions and held her boundaries and spoke up and stopped people pleasing. To become the girl who stopped people pleasing, I had to become the girl who started reading books on attachment theory. I had to become the girl who asked more questions and made less judgments. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just like I've been unfolding these layers of myself year after year, and I could only become that girl shaking my journal again when I had awareness that that is what I desired in the first place, right? Who would I be if I were free is exactly who I am right now, just with more options. And I think it's so freaking cool that I can say that. I think it's so freaking cool that I can look back on all of the versions of who I've been. And I couldn't ask this question, who would I be if I were free, a couple of years ago. There were too many other layers of me that I had to get through first. And I just find that so beautiful. It's kind of like, you know, we always think of life as this like linear stair step, but really it's like a spiral staircase. You know what I mean? You're always in motion, but sometimes you're spiraling, but sometimes you're spiraling up and sometimes you're spiraling down. And even though it looks like you're going in a straight line, you know, sometimes when it feels like you're flatlined, it's really just you're just spinning in a circle a little bit. You're spiraling, you know? Um it's crazy. So anyway, so who would you be if you were free? And I'm posing that question to you. Who would you be if you didn't feel so ashamed about who you were as a person? Who would you be if you weren't so focused on the expectations of others? I think the gift that I've given myself is like throughout this 8-year journey of journaling, it's just it happens to coincide. My spiritual awakening, my awakening to self, my beginning of doing the work started in 2020. And I can't help but notice the coincidence of me starting that awakening and journaling. They go hand in hand. Without the work of writing all my thoughts and feelings down, even if not consistently, but enough to have the data, I would not be who I am. I would not have had the awareness that I had. I would not be able to look back on the patterning of my psyche of like getting attention from a boy, becoming anxiously attached to them, falling in love with them, rose-colored glass, you know, loving them, and then breaking up with them and being like, oh my God, how did they do that? Was I under a spell? Because that's what it feels like. It felt like I was under a spell. But anyway, but like throughout over these years, I have asked myself similar questions to this, like, who would you be if you were free? And it's like, and it's not even asking the questions, but it's like there are versions of myself I always wanted to become. I wanted to become the girl who was secure in relationship. I wanted to be the type of person who wrote in a diary, in a journal, to keep track of her thoughts and feelings. I mean, hell, something as simple as like I wanted to be the type of person who made their bed every day. And look at me, sitting on a made bed. I make my bed every single day. And not because I feel obligated to, not because somebody on the internet said, this is going to make you have productive days. I did take that into consideration, but no, I just wanted to be the type of person who had a made bed because I like the way it looks. And so what did I do? I went from being a person who didn't make a bed to someone who did make a bed. And I just became her. Who would I be if I was the kind of girl who made a bed? I'd be a girl who was proud of herself, right? So there's all these like this vision I have of myself in my head outside of other perspectives. Just for me, like when I was being honest with my truest, highest self, I call it my highest self. My highest self is the version of me who is in line with love, who is living in their integrity, who is joyful, who is compassionate, who is caring and loving. Like that is who I desire to be. That's who I'm always working so hard to become and to embody, right? And so when I think of her, like she is my North Star, right? And so when I think about all the things that I have to do to become her, it looks like working on attachment theory. It looks like inner child work. It looks like healing my father wound. It looks like having the hard conversations with the person you love the most. It looks like trying to recover from people pleasing, because people pleasing isn't helping anybody. I mean, that was my number one thing. Who would I be if I were free? I would not be a people pleaser. I'll tell you that much. I will speak my truth. I'll tell you that much. Who would I be if I were free? I would be as kind as humanly possible, but let people know when not to mess with me. right? And these are all things like I haven't mastered these things, okay? By any stretch of the imagination, I have just scratching the surface because all you can do is practice them. Right? There is no test at the end. There is no, you made it. You've cured your inner child wounding. You've done the thing. You've done the work. And here's your medal. No, bitch. But I don't know if you knew this, but no, it is a lifelong journey you're going to be on forever and ever. But you have more experience. You gain more wisdom. And you can apply that wisdom to these situations, to your wounding, to your experience time and time again until you get to a place where you got a pretty good hold on what's going on, you know? And what's interesting about that is that there's always new characters being introduced. So you might figure it out with one person and meet a new person and you're like, well, goddamn, why is that coming up again? And it's like, well, they've got a totally different personality that unlocks totally new information to an old wound that you had, you know? And I can say that for myself, that is so freaking true. Like, as soon as I think I figured out a piece of my personality and my wounding and the way that I relate with one person, another person comes along and they unlock a different flavor of it. And I'm like, oh, you know? And you could get frustrated by it. I certainly have, but it is comical and kind of hilarious. And I'm of the belief that that is the whole reason why we're here, is to relate to people and to learn new things about them and to learn new things about you, you know? And I'm just so glad that I now have a relationship with myself that can laugh about that kind of stuff. Who would I be if I were free? I'd be the kind of person who laughed at how hilarious it is to be alive, right? And so if this is a question you never asked yourself, I pose this question to you. You know, where in your life do you, if you were to write about this, if you were to journal this or put in a diary, if you were to ask yourself this question, I'd be curious to see what comes up, you know? Do you still take other people's opinions into consideration above your own? Are you still controlled by your tendency to people please? Are you not speaking up for yourself? Do you live out of integrity by not doing the things you said you were going to do? Are you a liar? You know, is the free version of you still doing all these things? And those are questions that I can't answer for you. Those are questions you would, maybe the freest version of yourself is stealing cars and robbing banks. Like, I don't know. I would like to think that listeners of the show aren't on that vibe, but if that's true for you, listen, live your life, do your thing. Just don't rob my bank, okay? But like, I would like to think that at our core, which I do think this, you know, we are this perfect soul light being, right? I would like to think that at our core, we all just want to be loved and we all want to love and we want to be accepted and we want to be happy and to chill and to be at peace, right? And so what are the things that we would have to do to be able to meet a life like that? You know? And the unfortunate thing is that it really doesn't, I hate to say this, okay? I know people are going to think that you might be mad at me for saying this, but living a more peaceful life does not mean cutting every single person out of it. I know that's going to be that's your first thought. You're like, well, if I don't have any people in it, how can I be upset and frustrated? It's like, well, because as a person on the earth, if you have any connection to, you know, other people in any way, shape, or form, if you desire love, if you desire a relationship in any way, if you're not a sociopath, you know, you gotta relate. You have to be in relationships to relate. You have to be in relationships to love and to be loved. And that is true. And so if you are struggling with these things, if you are struggling with your relationship with yourself, even if you're afraid to just be alone with your thoughts and to write in a journal, to write in a diary, okay, there's some work to be done there, okay? Like if you're afraid of, who would you be if you were free? If that looks like just having a relationship with yourself, okay, well, we got to start there, okay? What does that look like for you? What would you have to be willing, what would you be willing to give up to become closer to that version of yourself? Would it look like being on your phone less? Would it look like maybe a couple hours less a day of scrolling? Would it look like maybe talking to yourself a little nicer? Would it look like, you know, whatever it looks like for you, like there's going to be something that you have to lay down before you can pick up the life that you desire, right? Almost always. I mean, one of the things that I have to do, I have to hold my tongue. Well, at least this is no. Well, actually, my tendency is to hold my tongue, okay, in relationship because I'm afraid to take up space. I'm afraid to be a burden, right? So part of my work is I have to speak my truth. I have to let my people know what is happening inside of me, right? I have to be willing to let go of the people pleasing to have a more quote unquote comfortable experience, which is wildly uncomfortable, actually, when you really think about it, to have more vulnerability and to be more intimate in my relationships and to strengthen those bonds, right? If who would I become? Who would I be if I were free? It would be somebody who has thriving relationships, right? If I was free of all the things that were told to me when I was a kid of like you're annoying and every time you talk like it's annoying, you know what I mean? Like I had to rid myself of those like thought patterns in order to have positive relationships with people who love me and I love them, you know? Because if I would have just kept that in my brain, I would have never talked to anybody ever because I thought, oh, well, they're going to think I'm annoying. So what's the point, you know? But the point is, you have to do the hard thing. You have to do the thing. It doesn't even have to be hard, you know? It might just be something you never thought about before. And, you know, I might be rambling, but my hope is that some of this makes sense to you. So that is the question. I would love for you to sit, maybe you buy yourself a journal, maybe you start a diary, maybe you read The Artist's Way and do the morning pages, and just for the sake of becoming somebody more creative. Like if freedom to you looks like being more creative, if freedom to you looks like having more agency over your life, I cannot recommend writing in a diary, writing in a journal more, okay? That's your challenge. That's your homework for the week. I'm going to start giving out homework, okay? I'm going to start giving out homework, right? Because we're in this together, right? And I want, at the end of the day, if you're new here and you didn't already know this, I want us all to live our most peaceful, our most joyful, our most loving, our most abundant lives, okay? I want us to unfold our perfection. I want us to get rid of all the cruddy layers of life, personality, whatever, that hold us back from our deepest truths, that hold us back from our greatest and highest timeline. Because I think we all deserve that. I think we all desire that. And if I'm wrong, my bad. Maybe I'm delusional, but that's what I want, you know, and I'm projecting that onto you. So I'm going to project all my love and abundance onto you. I'm going to wish you the happiest, healthiest life. I'm going to dream a bigger dream for the both of us. And I want you to become the version of you that is free from all the crap. Okay? Whatever that looks like to you. My crap looks like childhood trauma and father wounds and, you know, anxious attachment and all these things, financial, you know, illiteracy. And I'm trying to, the most free version of me looks like becoming financially free, moving to Costa Rica, living a more peaceful life, having loving relationships, being vulnerable, being open to love, even though I've been heartbroken 1,000 times, because I can't help myself. I can't help but continue to work towards that dream for myself and to continue becoming more clear on what it looks like. Hell, who would I be if I were free? I would have a bunch of nonprofits. I probably wouldn't have much of anything. I'd probably be living off of like peanuts. I don't know. Like being free to me is having choice and having agency over your life. And so when you have these thought patterns that control your brain, right? That's not freedom. When you have these expectations or even judgments you put on yourself, that's not freedom. Freedom is flow. Freedom is creativity. Freedom is curiosity. Freedom is the antithesis of rigidity and shame and blame and judgment, okay? Freedom is love, baby. Look at me, I'm a hippie. I got my hippie earrings on. I got my hippie pants. If you didn't see them already, I got my tie-dye pants on. Freedom to me today, and maybe it's as simple as this, right? Freedom to me today looks like wearing my bright green, my rainbow earrings, my purple sparkly eyeshadow, my hot pink lipstick, because when I was a child, used to love dressing obnoxiously. And somewhere along the way, I was like, I need to dress more conservatively. I need to dress, because, you know, I used to be in a bigger, fatter body, and I was like, I need to dress more like, I need to hide my body and I don't want to take up too much space and blah, blah, blah. Freedom to me looks like dressing however the fuck I want and being a rainbow vomit surprise. Like, I love dressing in crazy colors and expressing myself freely. And that is me getting closer to that version of who I am when I'm free. And so I'll leave you with that. Who would you be if you were free? Questions that need answers, drop them in the comments. What is one thing that you think you could do this week that would inch you closer to the vision of who you are if you were free of all the crap? I would love to know. That being said, guys, that's the show for today. That's all I got. The only thing I have left to ask is, hey, did you rate the show? Did you subscribe to the channel? Did you send it to your friends? Did ya? Did ya? Did ya? I'm counting on you. I'm counting on you. If you loved this episode, again, drop a comment. I would love to hear your answers. If you do end up buying a Magic of I journal, like, we're buddies, let me know. Again, not sponsored, but hey, if enough of you buy one, maybe they'll do a brand deal or something. I don't know. I'm obsessed with, I will only ever share things with you on this channel that I personally use, that I'm personally obsessed with, that have personally changed my life. So know that I am high integrity over here. That being said, if you want to connect with the show, you can reach me at imperfectionfoldingpod@gmail.com. Something else I didn't say at the top of the show was I actually got my first email. I got my first listener email. Was he trying to hit on me? Yes, he was. Shout out to that man. And I respectfully said, no, thank you. But if you had any ideas to let me know for the show's sake. So listen, do I want you to reach out to me and hit on me? No, not necessarily, no. But would I love for you to send emails saying, if the show has helped you or if you have any topics that you'd like for me to discuss on the show? Absolutely. Please, for the love of God, girlies, women, please hit me up. Let me know you're out there. I'm like, the bat signal is up, please. So yeah, you can reach me at perfectionunfoldingpod@gmail.com. Follow the pod on Instagram at perfectionunfoldingpod. You can follow me at Cara G. Campbell on Instagram. Am I doing anything crazy and special over there? Nope, but I just share little updates on my life and what I'm doing sometimes. And yeah, that is the show, guys. This has been so much fun. My hope is that the ramblings make sense. Again, I am flowing. I'm not going to overthink this. This is my show. I do what I want, okay? And my hope is that you guys like it and that it helps somehow. So pick up a journal, write in your diary, document your life, distill your wisdom, talk to your spirit guides and your family and your higher self, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.